Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. The town of Hawthorne, Nevada harbors a big 18-mile by 8-mile lake called Walker Lake. It also houses a guarded naval undersea warfare center. This amazing lake has not one structure to support the locals enjoying a swim or some fishing, but does have some kind of base along its western edge. It has also been associated with some pretty amazing conjecture. Today I'm joined by Kevin. Hi, Kevin. How are you? How are things going?
Good. Thank you for having me back.
Sure. Hey, today we've got some support here. We received a generous donation from a local car club. It seems hot rodders love a good conspiracy. Thank you, Motown Mopars. Do they have car shows and things? Do you know about them?
I do know about them, and they try to do car shows, although last year there wasn't a whole heck of a lot.
No, not a lot of get-togethers.
But yeah, they have some pretty good ones.
Cool. We've got also some listeners have emailed into us at alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Help if I need the exact one. Roger D. from Los Angeles. I just listened to your podcast discussing the battle over Los Angeles. We just did that one last night. Ironically, I just watched the Spielberg movie 1941. They likened the whole incident to war nerves. My dad actually told me he was in the coastal anti-aircraft station, and this really happened. Yeah, did you listen to that? Yeah. It's interesting. We don't know, and then it's interesting because we don't know what the heck they were shooting at.
Yeah.
And then we got Tina S. from Pahrump. What?
Pahrum's in Nevada.
Is it Nevada?
Yeah.
I believe UFOs are real and aliens are among us. When I listened to your episode on Flying Saucers Are Real, I made her listen to it with me, and after it started, she ran out of the room. I know she's an alien.
Who's she talking about?
Who was she talking about? Yeah. Her mother? Hopefully it was a child. Hopefully I didn't scare anybody. That's not our intention here. Dan from Rapid City, Iowa?
South Dakota.
South Dakota. Sorry, Dan, South Dakota. Your episode on murder mysteries shocked me. I never realized this crap was going on. And so many unsolved mysteries. Yeah, we didn't either, and there's going to be more.
Wow.
That one's pretty popular.
Yeah,
it's off our usual UFO and alien thing,
yeah,
but
conspiracy.
Yeah. Then we got Susan A. from Dodge City. I loved your episode on remote viewing. Yeah, a lot of people did. That one's like number 3.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
John Teeter, the one you and I did.
Yes.
And then remote viewing's crawling up there too.
Right.
I thought they were,
All right. I tell you it's your guest host, but you don't believe it.
I tell you, it must be you. My grandmother was very clairvoyant, could predict things before they happened. She even envisioned her own death. Too freaky for me and close to home. Very nice.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that you guys are sending in.
Yeah. Glad to hear get those questions coming in. My gosh. And comments, we love them.
So Hawthorne, Nevada, there's the area's listed as being fleet testing. Of course, it's in the kind of in the middle of the desert. Not really in the middle of the desert, but it's in Hawthorne, Nevada, which is not near any huge sea. For some time, there's been talk of a potential opening in the shelf of California near Point Dume, near Malibu. That which would be a nice area to come out of.
Yeah.
Submarines could go into the water and under land all the way to Walker Lake, Nevada, approximately 395 miles. What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting. I heard about this on one of the talk shows, and at first, you envision when they talk about submarines in this lake, and I think you mentioned earlier that it's about 8 miles wide, about 18 miles long. So it's a good size.
It's big.
And I heard it's 1,000. In some places, it's 1,000 feet deep. But what we talked about a little earlier was you envision these huge boomer subs, but they don't have to be that big because it's my understanding they're teaching tactics and warfare and using passive sonar and stuff. But there are some people that sit on the shore and say they do see conning towers break the surface.
Really?
Yeah. Now, how did they get in there? Well, they either had to assemble them, or they go underneath the some giant river underneath the land.
It's interesting that they would pick
all the fault lines. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
The Paiutes have a legend of the Hav Musavs, a giant and advanced people who went underground in the West when glacial lakes began to dry out. There are theories that the water went underground, and they did, along with in enormous caverns rich with water, and possibly the same watery caverns used by the military to trek Walker Lake. Yeah, the theory is, I don't know if it, I think it's like 2,000 feet deep in the ocean part of it.
Oh, okay.
And that there's pillars. I think it'll touch on this maybe as I go through this. It comes out into the ocean. In fact, I did the podcast last night with the senior producer, and he wanted to do the Catalina Island tie into this military. See, he said it was a secret military base. I said, hey, you know that there's a river that goes all the way to a lake in Nevada. Why didn't you hear about that part? I go, yeah, well, you know, so we're gonna.
He says there's a base at Catalina.
He says they're in that area.
Okay.
Well, a lot of that is underground, and as you heard, I think on the podcast, I was at Catalina, and they allegedly see, you know, UFOs going into the ocean pretty regularly. So those are they call them SAV. They have a different name for the ones they're not UFOs or something else.
You know, there's a big bar there, right? So the people sitting at the bar seeing UFOs.
There's a nice bar there. Have you been there?
I haven't been there.
Yeah, there's a nice.
I think after a couple of Mai Tais, I might have seen an alien or two.
No doubt. This would possibly tie the military to ongoing interactions with the ancients.
Interesting.
What might we learn from them, and what might they get from us? A 1650 map shows, I never saw this map, but a 1650 map shows California to be an island. The supposed misjudgment by Europeans on a map showing California as an island was allegedly perpetrated by other map makers who continued the error, but given the area from Imperial Valley, California, up through Death Valley, which was once filled with water, and into western Nevada where Lake Lohantan once was Lovelock Cave area, there are lots of reasons to believe these areas were filled with water at one time, which might have given the impression of California an island, but the waterways dried up thousands of years ago. So I guess if the water was a lot higher, you know, obviously when water's high, you know, the higher elevations could have, you know, it could have looked much different, obviously, and probably did.
I saw an actual globe one time, a classroom globe, and it was drawn by, and I don't know if it was from the 1600s, but it showed California, and it was split, you know, up through Baja. It had a line up through Baja, but it did show California as a separate.
Did it look kind of like did it look a lot smaller, or like?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like up the Nevada. It was like the Central Valley was the.
Yeah, was the dividing
was it
line. Water in through the Central Valley?
It showed a river. It didn't show an island like the Hawaiian Islands out in the middle of nowhere. It just showed a river that separated the two land masses.
Well, that would make sense because the Central Valley is all flat.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so if the water was a lot higher, it would, you know, fill that all in with water.
Well, without all the dams and stuff, it used to be a flood zone everywhere. So that's why it's such good farming, I believe.
So 1,000 years, it retreated during seismic activity to an underground site. If you lost your water, wouldn't you chase it?
Heck yeah, you have to.
Might they have adapted to living in the cave systems? We already know they were buried in caves, they lived in caves, they mined in caves. This was their home already. Perhaps their kind died off soon without large amounts of humans to cannibalize. It's interesting. I had gone through this a couple of times. I don't know why they think they were cannibals. There must be some reason. Probably some artifacts or something showing
Or the lack of food.
Yeah.
So you just eat your neighbor.
Perhaps they emerged from time to time to abduct their meals. Perhaps they lived on the large fish population. I would think they would live on fish.
I hope so.
And bats, and occasionally emerge to stalk other creatures, because there must have been tons of other animals running around, I would think.
They would follow the water also.
There's a pristine spring in the unique environment of Ash Meadows in Nevada, which is hydrologically connected to Devil's Hole, which is a nearly vertical cabin below the water table in southern Nevada. An endangered species, Devil's Hole pupfish, has lived in Devil's Hole Pool for thousands of years. The water level in Devil's Hole oscillated in response to the Denali fault earthquake, which disrupted the spawning areas of the pupfish near the surface of the pool. I've not heard of pupfish before. Anyway, a Navy munitions storage site built in the World War II era in Hawthorne, Nevada. The site was there for many decades. We're talking about the Walker Lake Submarine Base. But taken over by the Army in 1977, it's supposedly managed by a civilian company at this point. It was reported to once have signs that it was a naval training facility. The interesting talk here is the shelf in the Pacific under California that allows submarines to travel under the United States. Some reports have said as far as St. Louis. That'd be interesting. Others have said from Puget Sound to under Idaho. Now you have to remember, this isn't something that's like right, 10 feet under.
No. Yeah.
This is like 2,000 feet down.
Way down.
And I don't know if we'll get to it later, but there is a laundry list of underground facilities. And I know you've got some information on it too. Today's episode is kind of a secret base episode. The question becomes, if such a thing were possible, where does a submarine reemerge in the West? Does it come up at a lake, and what lake would it possibly access? Salt water would have to communicate with the lakes that the subs emerge from, so if one believes the theory, the Salt Lake in Utah would seem the likely culprit, you'd think. It's highly saline and large. Reading about Walker Lake, it is extremely saline, as many western lakes often become, like the Salton Sea in California. So now we're from Walker Lake. We're traveling down. Now we emerge in Malibu, which is a nice, it's a nice area to emerge from. California near Point de May, there appears from aerial views to be an opening under the shelf with pillars. This lends credence, some say, to the concept that submarines can go from California to Nevada underground in the water, like an underground river, I suppose. It is approximately 2,000 feet down and 3 miles wide. Now, I'm kind of curious how they see from aerial views 2,000 feet down and see, because what they're saying is the entrance has pillars in this, it's 2,003 miles wide. And it's got pillars, I guess, to hold up the entrance of this thing. I don't know how you'd see from you can't
Not
see
from the air, but I would think that maybe sonar from the surface.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Experts all agree anyway that this is perfectly explainable geologic feature. Not so if it's pillars, maybe it's, who knows. Obviously, we don't know for sure. Ultimately, it would seem that a giant waterway under the west coast would not make sense from a geological standpoint. There is plenty of drilling for oil going on without incident, and they go over 2,000 feet down. So I don't know why they don't drill and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Because the thing's pretty wide.
It's not under pressure though, so it's just.
Would water not come up?
No, it would not come up. It's not under pressure. It's not like oil, which is under pressure.
So they just drill through the wall. All of a sudden, they would have a cavity though.
It's like when you have a well, right? You just go down to the water.
Yeah.
You're at the water level.
They would know though that they would hit. I think they call it a cavity or something. When they're drilling and they hit a void.
Yes.
They call it a void. Yeah. They would know. So.
But you understand that the feds have to give permission for them to drill.
Yeah.
So
if they say, "Nah, you can't go there.
You can't drill there."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There are plenty of fault lines and seismic activity as well. What do you think? The thing collapses, but if it's huge, it just. Things just move around and maybe they go different, we can't go that way now, it caved in.
Could be
I don't know.
Different tributaries going different ways, different places.
Well, they could have supported it, but that's 395 miles is a lot to, that's a big, and you're underwater and kind of hard to do a lot of construction down there. There are plenty of fault lines, as well as lava caves from volcanoes and but there's plenty of caves. All these could technically be filled with water, but no way would that represent a potential submarine trek to Nevada. I also agree that it would be difficult, although there is a place in the Philippines that has an underground river that runs 5 miles to the sea. It's called the Cabayugan River, long remained hidden from the Western world and was once held a mythical status. The only evidence of it being the stories and rumors of the native people of the island. But in 1898, the American zoologist Dean C. Worcester spent a good deal of time studying the fauna of Palawan and made mention of the mysterious river, saying if accounts are to be believed, of a lake opening to the sea by a subterranean river. The river, however, is not a navigable waterway, so you can't just get on your inner tube and sit on it and then go. But that would be cool.
That would be. It'd be interesting.
It'd be a good ride.
I don't know if I want to be 5 miles underground, though.
No, I get a little claustrophobia. It's kind of dark, you know. Don't know.
It would definitely be dark.
Well, you know, you can put something together that you can navigate it with lots of reverse thrust. That could slow down. The river, however, is not a navigable waterway that runs the length from California coastline to Nevada desert. That would be exceptional beyond compare, especially given the effects of earthquakes on it and wherever the outlet is in the desert. We have an actual, you can see here.
I do.
A Naval Undersea Warfare Center detachment, Hawthorne, Nevada, and it's got the state of Nevada, and its main function really is to receive, segregate, storage, and issue. It's called RSS&I of mine commodities like mines. It also performs maintenance on fleet return material and conducts demilitarization and disposal actions on mine systems in excess of program requirements. Is it mining or mine like? If it's mining, that might be interesting. But it's I don't know. There's and then there's a big long. But anyway, that's the rivers. That's there's
a couple things. One, it has been established that there are submarines in the river, or in the lake. Again, they don't have to be the size of the nuclear subs. They just have to be something. But so how are they? Could they have been trucked in? Sure. Could they have assembled them there? Absolutely. But I think it's very plausible to have an underground river. I think so. I mean, considering that the majority of the surface of this planet is water.
Right.
So, but it's interesting. I heard that whole thing, and I know when we talked about it, you were kind of shocked when I originally brought that to you, saying that, and if you wanted to conduct secret maneuvers, what better place in the center, well, not in the center, but deep in the United States where, prying eyes really can't, whereas in the ocean, international waters, they can be right up next to you and watch you. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I looked up Walker Lake, and it says it's really only 245 feet deep. But
really?
That's
really.
Yeah, but again, that's the list. That's that could be part of the plan up there is to make the stated. There's areas in the lake that I think you obviously can't go into as you and me that are probably somehow cordoned off.
My understanding, the whole lake's cordoned off.
Oh, is it? You can't get on the lake at all?
There's not access to the lake.
We have to go.
I was thinking we could get our fishing poles and go out there and see if we can snag a sub.
Yeah, we could. I wouldn't mind going.
Oh.
I'd sit there and fish just to see if I can see anything weird. Even if I don't catch anything. So you've got a couple. You got a.
I do. When we originally discussed some of our topics for future podcasts, and I always enjoy when you invite me up. We talked about doing something about hidden bases, and it's kind of a conundrum because if it's a hidden base, I wouldn't know about it anyway.
Sure.
You're not going to be able to Google it and go, oh, that's a hidden base. But when I researched it, what was a trip is that it's sort of like that old adage, hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
So, but I got a couple I think you'll get a kick out of. First one, everybody knows about Area 51. Everybody knows about 51, and you and I differ on the fact that I think there's nothing there. I think that's a ruse. I think it's, this is our secret base and we've got alien ships in there, but don't you look at it,
Yeah.
So everybody's concentrated on Area 51 while, you might have something someplace else that, looks benign. And a good case in point is Area 6. Have you heard of Area 6?
Yes, I have.
Area 6 was discovered only because of Google Maps in 2016. And it supports several small buildings, a 5,000-foot runway, and allegedly our most advanced aircraft are tested there. Now, the part that I have a problem with is that with a 5,000-foot runway, you're kind of limited to what you're going to be able to take off from there.
Yeah.
Small military jets could take off with 5,000 feet. Certainly, your VTOLs can take off from 5,000, but anything heavy is not going to make it. But I was it was interesting is that when I read about all the places in Nevada that support, you've got Groom Lake, which is, the place for the atomic stuff. And it just fascinates me. But
what's its relationship to Area 50? Is it near Area 51?
It's just north of 50. It's about 60 miles north of Area 51.
Because really, the S4 is another area. That's the area that they say is where Bob Lazar worked with his reverse engineering. You've heard of that guy.
Yes.
He, again, I'll mention this as anybody ever gets a chance, listen to Joe Rogan and Bob Lazar's YouTube interview, and you will be a believer after you hear that. Even you will be a believer. But that isn't really that is Area 50. It's called S4 though. It's like the side of the mountain comes up. They say that it opens up so that it looks like a mountain, but it opens like a garage. I guess your automatic garage door opener, I suppose. It just opens. And then it's got these ships in there that they're reverse engineering. But what else? So it's just advanced. It's not really like it's not really attached to any aliens. Spacecraft stories.
Well, I think that 51 probably does some type of classified work.
Right, but I mean, your new one.
You talk about 6?
Yeah.
This is more military.
More top secret aircraft.
Most of the SR-71 used to be.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a new plane that's taking place of the SR-71 that they're testing there.
Yeah.
But 51. I mean, Area 51. You have the workers that leave. Las Vegas Airport in a plane with no windows, and they have a
it's the Janus flight.
So I mean, there's and I don't know, but I tend to not really. So I'll have to do some more research on that one.
Yeah.
So and keeping with Nevada, we'll go to Area 25. Have you heard of Area 25?
No.
So this is a top secret missile testing base, which is just to the east of Vegas. Now this one is the one that fascinated me, and I had to do some research on it. There was a news report in 1980 that reported that a MiG-25 was flying in international waters off the coast of California, which is, I don't know if it's 12 miles or 200 miles. I don't know what the international line is. And it was flying up and down. So it caught the attention of the military. And all of a sudden, it turned inland and flew to Area 25, where it was shot down. Well, I take that back. Where it crashed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On this missile base, and according to this news report, credible sources report it was shot down and actually crashed in the middle of the base, which is kind of weird. So you're flying at 900 miles.
It was
an hour.
A missile. Do you think it's not manned or?
No, it wasn't. It was an actual MiG-25.
Oh, it was a MiG-25.
It was an actual Russian MiG-25.
So he's defecting. So we think
I don't know.
Or they were we have that.
I think because at the time they were testing a top secret missile. That's what this whole base at Area 25 does.
Yeah.
Is they do static stand tests of missiles. Excuse me. My local news reporter actually got close when he saw the plane coming in. He was driving on one of the local highways, and he saw this aircraft. He says that he saw a flash and the airplane go down. When he got close to the base, the gates he said they weren't really maintained, so he was able to get through. But as soon as he got through, he got ushered out of there. They got the bums rush. They actually had him arrested.
Yeah.
And they put him in jail and held him there. And then they supposedly did the typical, you're bound by the Securities Act. You can't talk about this and everything else, which he ultimately did. But I thought that was kind of fascinating, the heck out of me, that one there. So it was an actual MiG-25, and there were several news reports that so the MiG-25, was he defecting? Well, why would I land in the middle of Nevada? If I'm going to defect, I'll go to Travis, right?
Yeah.
Or LAX or something. I mean, I want to see, why would I just make a beeline?
Where did it start?
He was flying up and down originally on the international waters on the out of California.
Yeah.
So whatever that line is, 200 miles or 12 miles, he was keeping outside. And all of a sudden, he turned inland and just went like a bat out of hell into Nevada, specifically at this site, towards this site where he was shot down. Now, they don't know if it was another military aircraft that shot it down or if he just crashed. Did he do a kamikaze? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or was there an anti-aircraft facility there?
The pilot was killed. We don't know.
There's no word on the pilot. So that one kind of That one is called Area 25.
That's a new one for me, which
yeah.
is new because I thought, well, I don't know everything,
No,
but I hear about all the weird stuff.
And that's why you bring me up.
I know. We need that fresh outlook.
You got to have that fresh stuff. So I'll keep on. So let's go back to something we all know about, and that's HARP. That's not.
Yes, we've discussed.
The HARP is there. We all know that HARP is there.
Yeah,
what it's there for is the questions, right?
Yeah, that's Alaska, right?
Yes, that's in Alaska.
Did you see the X-Files episode?
I did. I did see that.
Just checking.
And so, according to the government, they're doing research and stuff on there. But according to people that have worked there, when they switch this bugger on, it affects weather.
Oh.
And it changes, somehow it does something in the ionosphere that changes weather. So that's supposedly, you get these workers and they all come up with these stories, but we all know. But officially, it's Weather Research Station. It's called HARP Weather Research Station. So
allegedly. Well, that's what it is called that, but allegedly that's what it does.
And I've got a couple more here. One that was fascinating to me was called Raven Rock, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of that one?
No, that's new.
Raven Rock, Pennsylvania is an underground station for the Pentagon in case of warfare. Now, we all know that there's the NORAD in what is it, Montana or Wyoming? NORAD is at
Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming. And then you have the one near Camp David in Washington, D.C. I think it's Mount Promise, for the president goes to, whatever. This one is for the Pentagon personnel. And it's an underground station for all Pentagon war personnel activated during a time of war. And it's reportedly can sustain several hundred people for a year without having to come to the service. So that's in Raven Rock, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So that kind of fascinated me. Dugway. Have you heard of Dugway Proving Grounds?
Yes,
I
actually had a friend that was stationed there when he was in the Marines.
Oh. So Bio and Chem Warfare Research Center. Now, what the heck is that going on? And they conduct war games there.
Yeah, they had a breach. They actually, true story, they had a breach there. And when my friend was, in fact, it's Bill Ogle. I believe, Bill, sorry if that wasn't your base, but I think that's the base. He actually receives, well, anyway, he was based there. And when he was there, they would have to have at the ready, the chemicals, the mask, and that kind of thing, the PPE. And he was there. Yeah, that's real. Yeah.
Well, what's fascinating to me is that we have through the Geneva Convention, and the convention, I think the Versailles Convention after World War I have banned chemical and biological weapons to be used. So why do we have a research center?
Well, we're just looking at it. I mean, come on. We're just researching it. We're not doing anything. We're not making it. We're just we're kind of what's up with this stuff? We're curious.
A fun fact?
Yes. Yes. Please, bring it. Bring those fun facts.
Fun fact is that, and I don't know why this person posted this when I was reading about this, is that they take in abandoned pets.
Abandoned pets? Oh, I'm glad Deb's not here for that.
And I'm sorry we're
Where's
laughing.
little Sparky?
But
what happened to Sparky?
But they make it sound like they're a humane place to bring your pet should you not want it anymore. So we take in abandoned pets.
At Dugway?
And so what do you think they do at Dugway with these abandoned animals? Pay no attention to the two-legged dog or the two-headed dog.
Well, is it the genetic? It's not really genetic experience. It's just how well do they, get exterminated.
Oh my gosh. This government's, my gosh. So I'm going to save the best one for you, Doug.
Oh, that's not even the best one? What happened to Sparky?
So have you heard of the Dulce Base? DULCE.
I have heard of it.
You have heard of it? Yes, and I thought I was going to surprise you. What happened at Dulce?
I can't remember, but I know I've talked about it.
Oh,
tell me what happened.
So a group of workers who were banished, now banished is a pretty strong word, claim that in the 90s that an alien craft landed near there, and they had an actual military conflict with them, resulting in 60 airmen being killed.
Uh-oh.
And several aliens. these employees report that there are still a group of aliens being held there in captivity. He describes them as human-like and 7 feet tall, and being there and being debriefed over the years.
Yeah, I've heard of this, and in fact, we're going to go there.
We're going to go there?
Yeah, we should we really need to take a road trip. It's Dulce, like New Mexico, or
it's on the border of Colorado and New Mexico.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard of that one, and we discussed that in a previous episode, brief. It wasn't very extensive. We kind of just, I think it was Where Are the Aliens or one of those, but that is fascinating. I mean, but again, where's the proof?
Well, I mean, some of these stories. I mean, here's the thing that we both talk about this when we're together. You have all these reports out there. Okay, even if one is true, even if just one is true, it's sort of like when they talk about life on other planets. You just have one planet that has life. Yeah. So, I think that we both agree that there's aliens. We both agree that there's some type of visitation going on. But do I think that these banished workers got together and said that this stuff? I don't know. Maybe something else happened. Who knows? Maybe the results of the biochem place created such a creature, and they walked over to that base, and who knows? Maybe. But it's fun to speculate.
Well, the thing is, it could a group of people that get together and all have the same story, and no one wavers, because it's usually when we can get one to go, sorry, that was bullshit. It's like the Travis Walton story. He's got his group of, the Fire in the Sky guy that got taken from the wood. We were there at the woodcut.
Do you believe he was abducted?
After Joe Rogan, sorry, Joe, I know you're never going to hear this, but, and not Joe, Joe sounded like he didn't believe the guy when he did the interview with Travis Walton. It's like, Joe said, okay, it was 5 days. You're away for 5 days. The movie, he was dropped off at a gas station naked.
Yes, I remember that.
And when he interviewed with Joe Rogan, he said that he was still fully clothed. And then Joe says, well, how did you go to the bathroom? And a weird question, but probably, some
5 days you're gonna have to go
mechanism. Nothing's dirty, nothing. It was really. And the minute he said that question, I immediately thought, oh, that's kind of a good. It just, the story is, I don't know, and the other thing is, just before, Travis is never going to invite me to any of his, because he puts on these, I want to call them shows, but seminars and things, get-togethers where, he's a presenter. He's never going to like me for all this. But it just kind of sounded like, it was not something that he could have just been gone, went on a bender for 5 days. I don't know.
Well, if I remember, and it's been a long time, didn't his friends originally see a light or something in the forest? Yeah,
they saw the light. Okay, they drive up. They went, whoa, what's that? They all drove toward it. He gets hit with some sort of beam, and it blasts him backwards, and he's on the ground motionless. They get the hell out of there. The story he tells is that the movie said only the main guy comes back for him, and he was gone. He says everybody came back, or most of them came back except for one or two, because there's like 6 of them in this one pickup truck. It doesn't matter about, because Hollywood, you take creative license to everything, and I don't really care about that, but but the thing is that, to his credit, or not his credit, but none of those guys ever said it didn't happen. Over all these years, some are dead, I think, too. Mm-hmm. Over all these years, none of them ever stated that, that never happened. They stuck with that story. I don't want to say I shouldn't say I don't believe it. The simple reason that not one of them ever came out and said, yeah, that was, because they were paid. I think like National Enquirer and things are offering to pay.
Sure. But did he have marks on his body? Didn't he have marks on his body? I thought I remember.
I don't remember about these, what type of marks.
Like red marks or red something.
Yeah, I don't remember the marks on his body. I remember that.
Well, what the hell would he do for 5 days in the forest, man?
Well, he probably wandered off, and who knows? You don't know. I get it. I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. Here, Doug. I mean, he didn't have a. I don't remember if he was married or not, but I mean, why would he? I mean, you or I wandering off in the forest for 5 days, we'd have to come up with a story. But
the other thing is there was an abduction. I don't know if it's the Barney and Betty Hill story.
Yeah.
But there was an abduction story that came out within 6 months or a year before he did this.
Oh.
And it was a movie or as a story. It was big.
Okay.
And it came out with this abduction story. It just seemed kind of, all of a sudden now Travis is gone. And for 5 days.
How about Betty and Barney Hill? You think that happened to them?
I think that was real. Yeah. Because that came out. They didn't come to the press. They accidentally came across their experience through psychological. Yeah, they were hypnosis. Yeah, they all of a sudden. The story is,
and their stories were exactly the same.
Yeah,
and there's no possible way.
Yeah, and she did the universe picture. She could have never known. Yeah. About the position.
I think that one's
the reticuli, whatever reticuli star system. She was able to map that out. And it's I know a little bit about astronomy, but probably more than her, and I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I like that. That's a story I like, and they did some pretty horrific, things to her.
And I believe that I don't know about the male, but the female, I think she had some marks on her, and she had some scarring.
Yeah.
And but I think one of the ridicules they have is because they were a mixed couple back in the early '60s, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah, and we talked about that in our alien abduction, which is a very popular the alien abduction episode. People like that, and I don't know. People go missing all the time, and are they taking them to these bases? Are they there's they say that remember the milk carton missing. The FBI would put. The FBI actually put those pictures of the missing children on the milk cartons, and they say one of the stories is that they're taken to one of these secret bases and they're trained in remote viewing, and things like that, and they just abduct them. You would think we could get some volunteers, to snatch the children.
Oh my God.
Off the street to, off they're doing their paper route, and all of a sudden,
gosh,
they're gone. And so they're doing down in secret base.
Well, let's talk about since we're back on bases, let's talk about the Denver airport. I see it up on your screen here.
Yeah.
What fascinated me about the Denver airport is, as you know, my background is with a certain airport, and when they were building it, there was stories being told about the amount of excavating that they were doing to put these terminals in, and I will, according to the story, is that the hole under there is made for some type of a refuge for an apocalyptic event,
right?
And what gives some credibility to that is that where I worked. The terminal areas that were built had an extensive amount of open area, and when I came into view of this organization, they actually had disaster supplies down there. So they had 55-gallon drums of water, they had medical supplies, and those had to be rotated out at certain intervals. Had to be rotated out. What people may not know, and maybe some of your listeners do know, but what most people don't know is that all airports are federal installations, and they're when you go into an airport, you're under federal law. So if you go in there with a joint in your pocket, it might be legal in California, but it's
federally legal.
You can be charged. If you bring contraband into the airport, you are detained by the local police and then eventually picked up by the FBI from San Francisco. All of the background checks prior to 9/11 were done by the FBI, and of course now it's Homeland Security. But I know that where I worked, what was done what was established and set up under the ground, it was set up. It was obviously not as big as the Denver airport, which is huge.
How big was it? Would you say?
In my area?
Yeah.
It's the entire underneath the entire terminal. So if you look at the terminal area, and it's huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. The Denver airport. What's interesting to me, one of the stories is if you walk the terminals, they have gargoyles that overlook the baggage claim area and the ticket area. And I don't understand. They said the theory is there's some significance to the murals that they have in there.
It's Illuminati, baby.
Yeah, it's something to do with apocalyptic stuff. Another thing that I heard about. Did you ever watch the Jesse Ventura conspiracy show years ago?
Of course.
Yeah. So they talked about the airport. What was interesting is they ordered these plastic coffins, and they have supposedly adjacent to the airport. They showed pictures of it. It was Jesse Ventura and the gentleman that does a talk show, controversial talk show, Jones. Yeah. I can't think of Jones's name out of Texas, but very controversial. They did an episode where they walked over to this area and they parted the trees, and as far as you could see were these plastic containers that you put two bodies in each one, and they're able to seal, and so there's no reason why they would have all these things, but they're for
at the Denver airport.
Right outside the Denver airport. Yeah, they're in a locked area facility that's surrounded by a bunch of trees and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't think it's large enough for the populace of Denver to go there, but I think that it's centrally located as far as a runway. I don't know how far it is from NORAD.
Yeah.
But I thought that was very fascinating to me. What they did to build this airport and what they put into it.
Well, they say it's over 22 miles in diameter. Wow. And goes down 8 levels. And that the CIA relocated the headquarters of its domestic division responsible for operations in the United States from Langley to Denver, which I didn't know that. I thought they were in Langley. Yeah. It was constructed in 1995. The government and politicians were hell-bent on building this airport in spite of it ending up vastly over budget. I've heard a few stories about this. There's charges of corruption, constant construction company changes, mass firings of teams that once they had built a section of the work, that they were terminated so that no one group had any idea of the blueprint of the airport. The locals didn't even want the airport built, nor was it needed. Now,
it wasn't needed. So the Denver airport, I don't know if you ever flew in there.
I hate it because it's got a lot of Bronco stuff in there.
Sorry, John Elway, because I know he's a big listener.
John is a big listener. John Elway's a huge listener.
John, we'll buy a car from one of your dealerships. But anyway, Denver Airport was fine, and if you remember, the airline industry wasn't a real bustling industry. I mean, it wasn't like the philosophy back when I was with an airport was if you build, airlines wouldn't come to you unless you build this vast facility, then they would come to you, but they wouldn't commit. So you had to spend a lot of your money. And back then they had passenger facility charges wasn't enacted at that point yet, which is now part of your ticket goes to our facility, building facilities. So when they came and they asked, and again, I know this from some of the things that I was involved in, that they came and asked, to build this airport for no particular reason. The runways were sufficient at Denver, but they talked about noise abatement, that they wanted to be able to build homes and
so this wasn't there was already an airport there. This was just a rebuild.
No, there's no airport there. This is way out of the city. Yeah, this is way out of the city limits. One of the things though you touched on is that a group would build something and then get fired. That may or may not be true, because I know in some of the projects that I was involved in, you have number one, as a public agency, you can't just give one builder carte blanche because there is corruption. Although I will say this, and I'll probably get in trouble for it. So, but one of the major constructions companies that always won the bid for where I worked was Turner Construction.
Yeah.
But they would sub a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
So you would, and I dealt with contractors, and you would deal with a contractor for a certain thing to be built, and then once that was completed, another contractor would come in. So it would look like they weren't just giving one company it. So that may or may not be true. I think were you telling me about somebody who allegedly got into an elevator and went down? Supposedly,
that was the I believe that was the Denver airport. They ended up on and then they went into a year. They were looking for the bathroom, so they get on this elevator. And I remember this. And it goes down, and he says, "What's going on for?" It's like, "Why are you going?" It's like down forever. And finally, the doors open. There's nobody there. It's quiet as a church. Gets into the urinals, and the urinals are like set really high up, like as if for a really huge something.
Somebody,
and
well endowed.
He immediately exited there, got back in the elevator, and just got right back up into the terminal. I guess.
Wow.
I'm assuming finding the correct, human level there.
You would think that they'd have some type of monitoring. To see some civilian come down there like that. But
there's a lot of weird art, like you were saying. There's a lot of weird artwork too. But Masonic symbols and bizarre artwork of dead. I didn't hear about the dead babies before, but burning cities and women in coffins.
I heard about that one. There's like this huge mural in there.
I had a layover there, and I should, if I
baggage claim, go to the baggage claim area. The mural is huge. And it depicts these people in gas masks
I've seen
and apocalypse.
I've seen pictures of it.
And I'm thinking, as much as I was involved with, I don't think there was any artwork that somebody came in and said, we want to show the end of the world in terminals, especially people climbing onto an airplane.
But I didn't go to baggage because I was just on a layover. So I just went to the next gate.
But did you see the gargoyles there? Supposedly,
I didn't even. I didn't.
That's just weird,
I was just seething over all the Broncos stuff. Anyway, so all I want to do is spend 2 hours looking at that donkey or horse or whatever it is. So
sorry, John.
It comprises an extensive mural as well as a time capsule, none of which is featured in the airport's website section detailing the unique artwork throughout the building. Denver, I guess the DIA, Denver International Airport, serves as a cover for the vast underground facilities that were built there. There are reports of electronic/magnetic vibrations make some people sick and cause headaches in others. There are acres of fenced-in areas which have barbed wire pointing into the areas if things keep things in, which that's weird, and small concrete stacks that resemble mini cooling towers rising out of the acres of nowhere to apparently vent underground levels. The underground facility is 88.3 square miles deep. That's wild.
Yeah, that must be a misprint.
That can't be 88 miles deep. Can't be 88 square miles. I don't know. It might be like the volume of the
deep,
thing
right,
or something, which is huge. Basically, this underground base is 8 cities on top of each other.
Wow.
So the holding capacity of such Leviathanic base, that's a big name, big word, Leviathanic base is huge. The city-sized bases can hold millions upon millions of people. See, this is article, I have to say, this isn't my or Kevin's opinion. This is an article that someone has put out there.
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
And we don't report necessarily, like Fox. We just kind of, put it out there about what's the information that's being put out there about this. Some of this it's probably got something in there. I don't know if it's to this extent. But it can hold millions of places. It can hold. Now I'm reading millions of people. I'm thinking, oh my god,
maybe thousands and thousands.
Yeah, thousands and thousands.
Maybe it's a misprint.
Which kind of, then it goes into whether they are mind controlled, enslaved, New World Order military people, or innocent and enslaved surface dwellers from the towns and cities of America and Canada. Then there's
Dulce.
Guess what?
Yeah, we're back to Dulce.
Which will Kevin brought this up. We'll just kind of go over it's where it is. It's a small town in northern New Mexico, located above 7,000 feet in the Jicarilla Apache Indian Reservation. There is, as you said, I think one major motel and a few stores. It's not a resort town, bustling with activity. But Kevin, had talked about that. But we'll talk about the facility. Dulce has a deep, dark secret, which you alluded to. It's harbored deep below the brush in the Archuleta Mesa. Its function is research of mind-related functions. Now, you had said your story was that the aliens, that we had a conflict, an actual firefight, I'm thinking.
They didn't really.
They didn't allude.
This article, they didn't. Number one, why did the aliens attack a certain base?
Yeah.
It doesn't harbor any nuclear weapons that I'm aware of, which is the theory is that the aliens try to subdue our nuclear bases.
Right.
But there really wasn't anything that said why they attacked. But these people that were interviewed were very. And the 60 airmen that were killed, of course, the military can cover anything if they want to. Your son or daughter died, whatever.
Well, this goes into a little bit of detail. That's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes into a little more detail about the facility itself. There are 3,000 real-time video cameras throughout the complex at high security locations, entrances and exits.
Mm-hmm.
There are over 100 secret exits near and around Dulce. Maybe we need to go there, too. See if we can find a secret exit. I'm sure we wouldn't be arrested.
Oh, I'm sure they'd show us.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we wouldn't be arrested if we did find one either. How's your record? Is it clean? We can fix that. If it's Debbie said she will put up bail. She's got a credit card. She said she'll put up bail if we get arrested. 47
arrests, no convictions. I gotta go
okay, that's pretty good. Awesome. Yeah, me also. Many around Archuleta Mesa and others in the south around Dulce Lake, and even as far east as is there a lake there? Maybe there's some submarine. I don't know. So anyway. So this goes into a great level of detail.
Wow, look at that.
It's got, I don't know if we want to go through the entire, it's interesting though, the deep section.
Everyone is weighed in the nude.
Everybody's weighed in the nude.
That scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's, level 1 is a garage for the street maintenance. Level 2 is a garage for trains and shuttles and tunnel boring. Level 3 is everyone is weighed. I mean, I don't know if somebody invented all this information or, you know what I mean? There's a garage for trains and shuttles, tunnel boring. Level 3, everyone is weighed in the nude, then given a jumpsuit uniform. It sounds like somebody that's been there, I'm thinking, but I don't know. The weight of the person is put on a computer ID card each day, and then I guess they weigh them out. Change in over $3 requires a physical exam and x-ray.
What happens if he goes potty?
You're dropping weight.
Or he eats a big burrito.
Level 4, human research in paranormal areas, mental telepathy and mind control hypnosis, remote viewing, your favorite.
Yes, absolutely.
Astral traveling.
Well, there we go.
The technology is apparently here to allow them to know how to manipulate the bioplasmic body development of a laser weapon that can remotely cause brain burns and discomfort on its target. We missed this on a remote viewing segment.
We did.
They can lower your heartbeat with the deep sleep delta waves, induce a static shock, then reprogram via a brain-computer link. And then level 5, my favorite, security is severe, so armed guards patrol constantly, and in addition to weight-sensitive areas, there are handprint and eye print stations. Here is the device that powers the transfer of atoms. Interesting. Level 6 is privately called Nightmare Hall. It holds the genetic labs, experiments done on fish, seals, birds, and mice that are vastly altered from their original forms. Isn't that like Dugway?
Yeah. You can bring your pets there. They'll take care of them.
Yeah. The next facility is Greenbrier facility in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, under the Greenbrier Resort. The continuity of government facility, which means that's where the government goes. This isn't the Pentagon one that you talked about earlier. It is the facility intended since 1962 to house the United States Congress, codenamed Casper, is located on the grounds of the prestigious Greenbrier Resort. The bunker is beneath the West Virginia wing, which includes a complete medical clinic. Construction of the facility, which began in 1959, required 2.5 years and 50,000 tons of concrete. The steel reinforced concrete walls of the bunker, which is 20 feet below ground and are 2 feet thick. The facility includes separate chambers for the House of Representatives and the Senate, as well as a larger room for joint sessions. These are located in the exhibit hall of the West Virginia wing, which includes vehicular and pedestrian entrances, which can be quickly sealed by blast doors. They don't even hide in this one. It's even a tourist attraction.
Wow.
Okay, it looks like road trip for us.
You think? Like
the underground vault was built to meet the needs of a Congress in hiding. In fact, the hotel is a replica of the White House.
Oh my gosh! Now we have to go.
Well, we're gonna have to book a couple rooms.
I want the Lincoln room.
The underground. I'll take the Clinton room.
Oh no! Oh.
Yeah, that's what
room service.
That's what I'm saying.
Got a cigar.
The underground area has a chamber for the Senate, a chamber for the House, and a massive hall for joint sessions. Well, as long as we got a place for joint sessions. Although the hotel says it gives tours of the 112,000 square area daily, the installation still stands at the ready. Its operators still working. They give tours? We're going to have to go there.
I mean, that definitely is a road trip.
Its operators still working undercover at the hotel. The secrecy that has surrounded the site has shielded it both from public scrutiny and official reassessment.
Hide in plain sight, man.
Most Americans will not believe that an American Holocaust will happen. Okay, this is this is going to be one of those doom and gloom, things here.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of facilities made for continuity of government. I think that's the justification for a lot of their huge projects. I think I told you, and I didn't tell you on air. I think when I was started at the airport that I worked at, we had a policies and procedures manual, and we actually had a section on first contact.
Oh yeah.
And
too bad you couldn't get a copy of that.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to take a copy of it, but it stated that if you have a first contact situation, it gave you a phone number to call to report the first contact and the procedures to go around isolation of the area and the media blackout and the National Security Act that you fall under should this happen. It was interesting. Years later, I was actually involved in rewriting the policy and procedure manual. And that section was I was instructed to
alleviate
it. It was.
Oh, did you remove? You didn't do it?
Because everything security related fell under Homeland Security, so we didn't have any sections.
It was there, but
it
wasn't there.
It wasn't for us. So I always thought that was pretty interesting. When I was first there, I was a big fan of Art Bell, which we've talked about on previous shows, who does Coast to Coast before he passed away, his talk show, late night talk show. And I actually sent him an email, and I said, I can't believe this, and I told him the situation. And he sent me a short message back. He said, well, give me a copy of that page. And I was a newbie. I was a new guy and a young family, and I had all these envisions that I was going to get fired, So I like the truth to come out, but not at the expense of my livelihood.
Of your career and your life, possibly. Cool. All right, we're going to wrap up this segment of Alien Pro Podcast. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. I know we're gonna develop a few more of these in the future. You can find us anywhere fine podcasts are found. Catch us on Alien Pro Pod on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and on our webpage at alienprobe.net. Send your questions and comments to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.